The studio lights felt brighter than the sun that morning, and the air inside the game show stage was cold enough to make my hands tremble. My mother sat beside me, holding my fingers as if letting go would make me disappear. We weren't there for fame, applause, or a moment on television. We were there because my hospital bills had grown larger than anything our family had ever faced. Every treatment, every test, every night in that white room had a price we could barely understand. This show was our last chance before hope slipped quietly away. I tried to smile for the cameras, but fear was louder than courage in my chest. Still, my mom whispered that everything would be okay. The host greeted us with a warm voice that sounded almost too cheerful for our situation. The audience clapped, unaware of how much this moment meant to us. My mother nodded politely, though I could feel the tension in her grip. She had always been strong, even when life tried to bend her into pieces. I remembered the nights she stayed awake beside my bed, pretending not to cry. She would tell stories about brighter days that were still waiting for us somewhere. Sitting there on stage, I wanted to believe those stories more than ever. The game began, and the first question appeared on the screen. At first, everything felt simple, almost ordinary. The early questions were easy, and my mom answered them with quiet confidence. Each correct answer pushed us one step closer to the money we desperately needed. The audience cheered, and for a moment, hope sounded real. I watched her face glow under the lights, proud and determined. She wasn't just playing a game, she was fighting for my life. Every second carried the weight of years we still dreamed of sharing. Then the host smiled and asked the next question. "What's 1 + 1?" he said, in a tone so casual it almost felt like a joke. A soft laugh moved through the audience, expecting an obvious answer. I felt my shoulders relax, thinking this would be the easiest moment of the night. My mom looked at the screen, then at me, and something changed in her eyes. Time seemed to slow, stretching the silence into something heavy. I squeezed her hand, confused by her hesitation. She knew the answer. Of course she did. Everyone in the room knew the answer. "It equals 3, my mother said quietly. The laughter stopped as if someone had turned off the sound of the world. The host blinked, unsure whether he had heard correctly. I felt my heart drop, not from embarrassment, but from something deeper I couldn't name. People in the audience whispered, puzzled by such a simple mistake. Cameras zoomed closer, searching for drama in our faces. My mother didn't look ashamed or afraid. She only looked at me with gentle certainty. The host carefully reminded her that she could change her answer. He explained the rules again, giving her a chance to correct herself. The audience waited, expecting her to laugh and say, "2." I prayed silently that she would fix the mistake. We needed the money too much for pride or confusion, but my mom shook her head slowly. She repeated the same answer, calm and unwavering. In that moment, I realized she wasn't confused at all. Tears filled my eyes because I finally understood what she meant. To the world, 1 + 1 would always be 2. But to my mother, one life beside another created something greater. She believed that love multiplied beyond logic or numbers. She believed that as long as we were together, we were already more than enough. The answer wasn't about math, it was about us. It was her way of saying she would never let me face this fight alone. And somehow, that truth felt stronger than any prize money. The judges whispered among themselves while the studio remained silent. Something unexpected was happening, something no script had planned. The host's expression softened as he looked at our family story on the screen behind him. Photos of hospital rooms, birthdays, and quiet smiles filled the stage. The audience began to understand that this was more than a wrong answer. It was a mother's declaration of love in the simplest language possible. Some people started crying, and soon many others followed. Even the cameras seemed to hold their breath. After a long pause, the host spoke again with a trembling voice. He said the rules of the game were clear, but moments like this were rare. The producer stepped onto the stage, whispering urgently. None of us knew what would happen next. My mother stayed calm, still holding my hand. I felt warmth spread through my chest, despite the uncertainty. For the first time in months, fear loosened its grip on me. Hope returned quietly, like dawn after a long night. The producers made an announcement that no one expected. They said the show would cover the full cost of my treatment. The audience erupted into applause louder than anything I had ever heard. My mother covered her mouth, finally letting her tears fall. I couldn't speak because gratitude filled every corner of my heart. Strangers stood on their feet, cheering for a family they had just met. In that moment, kindness felt real and powerful. One simple answer had changed everything. Doctors later told us that my recovery would take time and patience. The road ahead was still long, but it was no longer impossible. My mother stayed beside me through every step, just as she always had. We talked about the game show like a dream we were slowly waking from. She laughed softly whenever someone mentioned math. I learned that miracles don't always look like magic. Sometimes they look like love refusing to give up, and sometimes they begin with a single question. Months passed, and my strength slowly returned. Simple things like walking outside felt like victories. My mother watched every small progress with shining eyes. We didn't have much money, but we had time together. That became the greatest gift of all. People wrote letters telling us how our story touched their lives. They said it reminded them to hold their families closer. I realized our moment on stage had traveled far beyond that studio. Life didn't become perfect, but it became meaningful in a new way. We celebrated ordinary days as if they were holidays. My mother kept saying that love had carried us through the storm. I started to believe her more with each sunrise. Painful memories slowly turned into lessons of strength. The future no longer felt like something to fear. Instead, it felt like an open road waiting for us, and we were finally ready to walk it together. Sometimes I think about that question again. It sounded so small, so unimportant at first, yet it revealed the deepest truth of our lives. Numbers measure quantity, but love measures meaning. My mother chose meaning when everything was on the line. She showed the world what courage really looks like. Not loud, not dramatic, just quietly certain. That lesson will stay with me forever. If someone asked me the same question today, I would smile. I would remember the lights, the silence, and her gentle voice. I would remember the moment hope returned to our family. And I would understand that the answer was never about mathematics. It was about connection, sacrifice, and endless love. Some truths cannot be written in numbers. They can only be felt in the heart. And once you feel them, your life is never the same. Our story continues, just like every family's story does. There are still challenges, still uncertain days ahead, but we face them differently now. We know that being together is already a victory. We know that love can open doors no money ever could. The world may count in numbers. We count in moments, laughter, and second chances. That is more than enough for us. So yes, one simple question changed our family forever. It turned fear into hope and silence into compassion. It reminded strangers that kindness still exists. It showed me the true meaning of strength. And it proved that a mother's love has no limits. Even now, I carry that moment with me every day, because sometimes the smallest question reveals the greatest truth. And sometimes 1 + 1 really can become 3. And